Hi, all. I'm so honored that you are joining me today. And I told many of you that I would tag you in this, and I'm going to have to do that after this. Facebook and I were having a bit of a tango this morning. Let's just say I didn't win. I didn't succeed. Anyway, so I will make sure and tag you all and also get you direct messaged so that you have this. You have a recording of this. So today I most especially want to talk about grief waves during the holidays. And so as I said, my name is Sally Wright and I am so grateful you are here. You all know this. The holiday season can be especially difficult when you're grieving the loss of a parent. And so while the world seems to be preparing and celebrating and that anticipation and building excitement, you might feel overwhelmed by the waves of sadness, longing, grief, even guilt. And so if you have experienced this and you are currently experiencing this, know that you are not alone. You are not alone. So today's session is about understanding those grief waves, especially during the holidays, and learning how to navigate them with more ease and more clarity. I like to think of this work as building a house for emotional resilience. And so a well-built house has a solid foundation, has at least 4 walls, and a roof. And so I like to think of the foundation being the way that you approach your emotions and mindset. And those 4 walls or pillars being habits and tools that support your healing. And a roof. A roof could be the clarity and calm that come with integrating these practices. And so today we're going to focus on one piece of one of those pillars, and I'm just simply calling it grief waves. And so my plan for today is that understanding grief waves and how to move through them will help you find some emotional balance this holiday season. So if this is resonating with you at all, just type yes in the chat. I'd love to know that you are here. Okay, so the holidays have a way of amplifying grief. And so you might have experienced moments like seeing a holiday decoration, like pulling it out of the box, and you suddenly are transformed into that moment when you and your parent were setting up that holiday decoration back so many years ago. Or perhaps you're feeling a pang of sadness when you realize that, oh my gosh, she's really not going to be here for Christmas dinner. Or even the, ubiquitous holiday song at this time of year. Suddenly reminds you, puts you in a memory. Or smelling cookies or that familiar family recipe. It brings tears, could bring tears out of nowhere. And so, do any of these sound familiar to you? I mean, my dad died 10 years ago, and I still have these moments when I will think of something and I hear a song, or actually I'll just be real with you all. We have a strange holiday tradition in my family, and it started around my dad, and we helped build a church when I was growing up. We helped start a church, and we set up Christmas Eve and took it down. So all the chairs, all the stuff for the service. And we were hungry on Christmas Eve. And it was late, it was probably 6 or 7 o'clock, and we needed dinner. And one of the few places that was open was Jack in the Box. And yes, that old greasy Jack in the Box is now our Christmas Eve dinner. So after church on Christmas Eve, we go to Jack in the Box and enjoy dinner, if you can call it dinner. But the point is, oh my, every time we do that, I miss my dad and I wish he was here with us. And it is something so silly and yet so deeply meaningful to my family. So if you have something like that, then I know you know what it is to feel a wave of grief. And so, in order to not feel these waves of grief, you may have tried distracting yourself with busyness, or ignoring or suppressing the emotions. And some of you may have even avoided holiday celebrations altogether. You know, like, I'm just not doing them this year. But the harder truth is that when we ignore these waves of grief, when we ignore them, it doesn't make them disappear. They don't go away. In fact, it makes them stronger and even harder to manage and move through later. And so my hope for you and for this Christmas season is that I want to show you how to honor those emotions, how to hold them, and how to honor your parent during these holidays without feeling emotionally shut down and emotionally overwhelmed. And so now imagine a different scenario with me. Instead of feeling blindsided, caught off guard, or weighed down by these moments of grief waves during the upcoming weeks, that you can feel grounded and in control and solid. So imagine you can acknowledge your emotions without them taking over. Imagine you can feel prepared for these tough moments, whether it's during a holiday family gathering, or even a toast, or even a quiet moment alone. And so you find small ways to honor your parents' memory and can make space for that love, for that joy, maybe even for a bit of healing to come. So if you are ready to take those steps, put ready in the chat. So now I get to the three strategies. So strategy one, pause and acknowledge the grief waves. So grief waves can hit hard and can hit hard in moments that you're not expecting. And so the first strategy I want you to do, the first thing I want you to do is just to pause and acknowledge when a grief wave is happening. You don't have to do anything with it at first. Just give yourself the space to feel it and acknowledge that this is a grief wave, that you are feeling grief in this moment. And so by giving yourself permission to pause and recognize the grief, you create a space for your emotions without being sort of emotionally swept away by what is happening. It's about telling yourself, this is grief. And this is okay. Because what happens if you don't? When you suppress or ignore these great grief waves, they tend to resurface later, stronger, harder, and a bit more difficult to manage. And so think back with me for a moment. When is a holiday trigger that hit you? So close your eyes, take a deep breath, and say, this is grief, and it's okay. If this feels like something you want to try, type, this is grief, in the chat. So step 2 is grounding yourself in the present moment. So grounding techniques can help you stay connected to yourself, to the moment, to the present, when emotions become overwhelming. And so this is especially important when grief waves hit during family events, during those, important holiday traditions, or in those quiet moments. So grounding reminds you that you are safe and that you are supported right now. It helps you find calm even when emotions are especially intense. And so, what happens if you don't, without grounding? It is so easy to spiral into overwhelming sadness or memories, making it harder to manage the present moment. And if you're at all like me, these spirals don't end up sort of going up. They sort of take me into darker, deeper places, not always places that are easy to get out. And so I find when I can figure out a couple of in the moment grounding techniques for me, that it can help keep me in the moment to say, this is grief and it is okay. And so think with me, what are grounding techniques that might work for you this holiday season? I have a couple of for you, but I tend to think you have some that are particular to you. Um, so perhaps it's stepping outside for a bit of fresh air. Maybe you want to take a quick walk around the block in that fresh air, just to get your body moving and to process through those emotions. Or perhaps you want to focus on your breathing. Being able to do something as simple as like a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 breath, where you take a deep breath, you take 5 breaths. The first one, you hold it for 5 seconds and breathe out for 5 seconds. The second one, you hold it, breathe in, and you hold it for 4. Or you take a deep breath in for 4 and you let it out for 4. And you go all the way down until you just have 1. Or perhaps you want something to hold. Man, something to hold, something so tangible. Perhaps that's when you make a warm mug of tea. I like to make a mug of green tea in those moments, but perhaps you could get peppermint to signal the holiday season. So share with me in the chat something that you are planning to do in the next few weeks when these grief waves hit. If it is something different than one of mine, please share it so others can hear it too. And then step number 3, create a plan. So holidays and anniversaries, we know they're coming. They're not surprising to us. There will be grief waves that are blindsiding to us and will hit us in ways that we aren't expecting. But holidays, we know when Christmas is coming. It's coming on the 25th. We know when birthdays are happening and when anniversaries happen. And so creating an emotional plan means preparing for these tough moments ahead of time. You know, I shared with you on Christmas Eve, we always go to Jack in the Box. I know after 10 years that it's still hard for me to drive up to the Jack in the Box, get in the drive-through line, and order those things. And yet, I always create a plan. And in fact, I rehearse it before I do it each year. And so having a plan can help you feel more in control of your emotions and of yourself. And so perhaps for you, it's choosing how you're going to remember your parent during the holiday or during Christmas dinner or Christmas morning. Or deciding you're going to step away for a moment of quiet. You know, maybe right after all the gifts are open, do you want to take a quick walk around the block just to have a quiet moment and remember your parent and to say thank you? Or maybe you want to have, I call it your first dial, like the person that you want to call, that you can lean on for support. And perhaps you talk to your bestie and you say, I'm going to step outside and take a walk and I'm going to text you just because I want you to hold it with me. That's a really great plan as well. Being this intentional, especially this far out, can help you reduce that sense of emotional blindsidedness, emotional overwhelm. And so what happens if you don't make a plan is these moments can catch you off guard. Like I said, blindsided. They can leave you feeling stuck or emotionally drained. And you're doing enough grief work without needing to be more drained by your emotions. And so I invite you to think of an upcoming holiday moment or event that might bring a grief wave. And so, what's one small way you can prepare for it? Maybe you want to light an extra candle at Christmas dinner, or perhaps you want to share stories about your parent. Like I said, I actually rehearsed going through the Jack in the Box drive-through. Isn't that so crazy? I rehearsed going through a Jack in the Box parking lot. And yet here we are. It is something really small that I do every year in preparation for Christmas Eve dinner. And so if you have something that you are going to try and you're going to plan, please put it in the chat so we can share with each other. So today we talked about what grief waves are, and we talked about how they can feel especially strong during the holidays. And we talked about three strategies to navigate them. So one was pause and acknowledge. Just acknowledge you're in that grief moment, that grief wave. Two, ground yourself in that moment. Sip a hot tea, hold a hot mug, go take a walk, go take some deep breaths. Find a strategy that works for you. And then number three was create a plan. Create a plan for how you're going to handle the moments that you can know about. So these tools can help you move through this holiday season with more calm, more clarity, and even more connection to your parents' memory. And so, as I said before, you don't have to do this alone. If you are ready for more support, I am here to walk alongside you. First, there is a handout that is linked below this, and it is there to help you think through. It's different than what I have gone through, so it's a whole nother worksheet on how to think through working through grief waves. And also, I offer one-on-one private coaching sessions because Christmas, the holiday season, is not a time to be without support. It is a time to be with more support. And so if you are interested in learning more about how I can create a plan with you and for you, put call in the chat and I will reach out to you and we will schedule a time to book some private coaching sessions. So y'all, grief waves, they're a part of this process, and they might feel especially intense very early on in the grief journey. And yet, even 10 years later, I'm here experiencing them from time to time. But you don't have to be swept away by them. You're not alone in this. You can strategize, you can plan. And I believe in you. I believe that you have what it takes to manage the emotional grief waves that are bound to happen this holiday season. And if you need extra support, I'm here to walk with you through it. And so, thank you for showing up today. Thank you for being here and for wanting to walk through grief in an intentional way and in a process. So I am wishing you peace and love and moments of supportive connection during this holiday season. And so with that, I'm going to sign off and say I'm going to take a couple of weeks off from doing these live trainings, but I'm still going to be present in the group. And so if you have any questions, any insights, anything, you can DM me, you can put a note in the Facebook group or anything along those lines, and I will be attending to them. So with that, just sending you lots of love in this holiday season, and know that I am holding you all in my heart as you all navigate. So with that, I will see you in a couple of weeks.